Now, the BMW iX originally hit the market in 2022 and caused a great deal of interest amongst longtime BMW consumers. Now, fast forward to 2023, and in walks the M variant, being the BMW iX M60, and this is yet another BMW EV to get the honor of the M badge. Although, for consumers that are looking for luxury, practicality, and power, this is going to add a hefty price tag. Now, this particular model behind me comes with 21-inch rims and the blue BMW calipers that we all know and love, and this has the executive package, which you can option into for $3,000, big dog.
Jesus Christ.
Now, this package comes with features such as soft closed doors, Park Assist Pro, which I just saw in action. That was pretty dope. Hopefully I get to show y'all that later. And then it also has the crystal controls on the inside, which I really haven't seen in most vehicles, and I think that's pretty dope. So today I'm gonna take you on a tour of this iX, and I'm gonna give you my first impressions of the interior features, the exterior features, and then we're gonna go ahead and take it for a spin. So stick around to the end of this video to see how much this iX is gonna cost you. So let's get into it. The iX M60 has some nice touches on the exterior. Now, if you look at the iX xDrive 50, which is to my left, that one has some pretty decent accents. It has the BMW LED lights, and it has like the same grille as the M60 does. But at the same time, I feel like this just has a few more added touches that just really get my juices flowing. You see what I'm saying? So I think that this big BMW logo, these pronounced hood lines complemented by these wide BMW laser lights, and you can tell it's a laser light because it has that blue ring around it. And these lights are gonna be a lot brighter. They're gonna penetrate the darkness a lot further, and they also have a cornering feature on these lights as well. So when you're cornering, the lights are gonna turn with you. So these lights are absolutely insane on this vehicle. And then you have this nice grille. I can't really even call it a grille because it's technically not. It's like a nice flush glass piece or accent that just really complements this whole thing. And then you have your front parking camera here, front parking sensors, and then you have some pronounced lines just in the hood that just really kind of give it a nice compliment. But this doesn't have those hard lines and more of that boxy and some of that curvature that you'll see in other BMW models, such as the X5, which is honestly very comparable to this in terms of size and everything else. But this has a mix of the sleek lines and the robust lines and the hard lines that you see, along with a lot of curvature as well. So there's also some soft rounded edges to this vehicle as we walk around that you'll be able to see. Look at them wheels. But that's not what we're here to talk about. So here on the side profile of this iX, just want to point out a couple things. So you have these side view mirrors that complement the vehicle. They don't really have any accent pieces to them, but they do have a camera sitting right here. So you have cameras all around this vehicle, so you're going to have a 360 field of view for parking and things like that, and it's going to come in handy when you're using those features like Driver Assist Pro and Parking Assist Pro and all of those additional safety features as well. So that's going to complement all of that and really hone in and enhance that overall safety system and all of the driver packages that are included with this vehicle. Now, the door handles are very flush with this vehicle, so as you can see, this whole vehicle is super interesting design. I think that BMW really stepped out of the box with this one. But again, flush, and then if you want to open this, you have to stick your hands or fingers under here and then kind of pop that door and it'll open up. So I think that's a pretty interesting design. You know, normally other vehicles have the door handles that kind of pop out and things like that, but I think that's a pretty interesting design. So that's going to be there on the front and the rear. Over here on the side as well, you have the charging port. So you have the AC and DC charging, but I'll talk to you a little bit more about that later. But you do have that optionality there with those charging ports for the AC and DC charging. And then you have this IX badge that's right here that I think really complements it and really adds a nice touch to the overall design and the side profile of this to kind of give you some identity to this vehicle, to let you know that this is an IX that's pulling up next to you. Now let's go ahead and move on to the back. Ooh-wee! This IX M60 got a big old butt. We need to get a side profile on that. I mean, like, this M60 probably got to jump to put his jeans on. Like, this is crazy. Like, I told you earlier that this has a mix of those bold lines, and then it also has some of those rounded areas as well. And this is a prime example of a rounded area, and this one just protrudes out. Like, it's just, the side profile on this is crazy. Is it also just me, or are the lights on BMWs just getting smaller and smaller and smaller? Like, this light is super small, but it looks really nice. It's really sleek. I think the way it's designed also kind of complements the door handles, because they're all kind of at the same level around the car if you look at just the cutouts. And this isn't something that you can completely stick your fingers in or anything like that, but I think it just really complements those door handles. So I just kind of noticed that as I was looking at it. And then you have this big old BMW emblem, and within that you actually have the rear camera. So I think that's pretty cool as well. I haven't seen that yet, so I think that's a nice add. It kind of tucks it away in there and hides it away, so you don't necessarily have it down here. So this kind of gives you more room to use the trunk popper and pop that and kind of get up in there. But other than that, I think my favorite thing about the M60 is the badging. So you have the smoked out IX badging, you have the smoked out M60 badging. So that darkened badging really gives it a really good look, and then it has kind of like a little bit of a gold accent around it. I think it's a really nice design touch, but overall the rear of this vehicle look really good. You have your rear parking sensors down here, and then you have your rear wiper and a little bit of an overhang here. I think this curvature also gives it a lot of space on the interior when you think about your cargo space, and we'll show you that here in a second. All right, now let's go check out the spacious rear cargo area. Follow me. So as you can see, ton of space back here for whatever you need to put back here. Use your imagination. And one thing I'll point out really quickly is the cargo cover. So you have a cargo cover here, and then you have a second cargo cover here that kind of meets in the middle. And when those two things meet in the middle, if you were to look in the rear of this vehicle, you wouldn't be able to see if anything was stored back here, whether it's luggage or groceries or what have you. For my folks that live in the Bay Area, you know what that means. You reduce your chances of getting bipped, because they be bipping out here and busting them windows. Like, we got a whole bunch of Jasmine Sullivans in the Bay. Some of y'all gonna get that and some of y'all not, and that's very okay. Just go ahead and look it up and figure it out. One other thing is you also have some underneath storage here, so you can put chargers or any other personal effects back here if you want to. And then there are some lights here on the left and right side. So these are not to be confused with the taillights that you saw earlier, but they can pretty much double as those as this car is parked. And I believe there's some state regulations that mandate that you have to have fixed lights on the vehicle. So that's why these are sitting here even when this is popped. You have another set of lights that are underneath, and if you were to press the brake, these lights will also come on as well. So that's why you have those. Other than that, you have a 12-volt charger back here that you can utilize for, you know, charging things and such. But the seats fold down. You have a couple buttons back here that you can use to fold the seats down. So if I press those, that folds the left and right rear seats down. It's not completely flat, but it'll get you what you need to get some additional things back here in the effect that you need to use it. So let's go ahead and take it on to the interior. Before I continue with the rest of the video, I'll be remiss if I didn't shout out the team over at Weatherford BMW of Berkeley for affording us the opportunity with this IX M60 today. I will say that I did get a chance to walk around the showroom, and they have a bunch of crazy stuff in there. They got the X5s, they got the i7, they got the M4s, all of those vehicles, like, all kitted out. They have some pretty dope inventory. So I encourage you, if you're in the Bay Area, go ahead and check them out. The team is great. Now, performance-wise, the IX M60 is an absolute beast. It puts out 532 horsepower and 749 pound-feet of torque. Now, put that thing in sport mode and you get to over 600 horsepower, which is absolutely insane. This vehicle does 0 to 60 in a little under 4 seconds, which is very impressive for a nearly 6,000 pound absolute monster.
Oh my God! Wow!
It has an EPA estimated 288 miles, and that is on the 21-inch wheels. If you option up to the 22-inch wheels, what's gonna happen is you're gonna experience a dip in range to the low 270s. Now, as far as charging goes, this has DC fast charging and has an estimated 35-minute charge time from 10 to 80% on a DC fast charger. So let's go ahead and hop inside. All right, so first impressions on the interior of this vehicle, I'm gonna tell you about the things that I like and things that kind of stick out to me, and then some of the things that I think a little weird. So, but we'll get into that. So first things first, these crystal controls here on the left-hand side are really dope. I talked about those earlier. You get those with the executive package. And then you have these rose gold interior accents as well. So you have that on the door panel as well as the steering wheel. And it kind of gives it a nice pop on the interior. And I don't think I've really seen that in a lot of vehicles. So I like that. You have the Bowers and Wilkins sound system. This is a 30 speaker sound system in this vehicle, and it's gonna give you more of that immersive sound, and it's gonna sound great when you're riding around. The next thing that really stuck out to me is this infotainment screen and the way it kind of spans across from the driver's side to the passenger side here in the middle, but not completely all the way over. And then it has like this little weird thing that kind of has it protruding out, and it kind of gives it a 3D effect on the dash. I think that's pretty interesting. With this curved effect as well, I can see everything. I think this is more so geared towards the driver, and I think that's really good. Right in front of me on the dash, I can see various vehicle settings as well as my range estimate, miles driven, as well as my current charge levels, and then, you know, other settings that you can kind of have here. In the infotainment screen, it's very configurable. It is touchscreen, it's very responsive to the touch. And then you can control that as well by this little crystal button here, or the circular button. You can kind of navigate different menu options, moving this to the left and right or turning it. And you have more crystal volume control buttons. You can also do the gesture control with the volume in the vehicle. I'm not going to turn that up too much because I don't want to get that copyright from YouTube. And then the kind of weird thing that you have here is a start stop button. I think that's kind of out of place. I feel like that could have been somewhere else, but just given the aesthetic of this vehicle, I think that it's fine the way it is. And then you have your drive mode settings as well that also come with a crystal control. Another interesting thing that I think is pretty cool is that you can kind of stick your phone right there, some hooks underneath to kind of catch that. So if you need to access your phone or anything like that, definitely don't do it while driving. You can kind of just have that here ready for you. As far as storage goes, you have some cup holders down here, and then you have the center console storage as well. That's pretty deep. I think you can fit some decent things in there. So I think that's pretty generous of them to kind of give you that. Right below this, you have the wireless charging pad as well. So you can kind of stick your phone down there, or put any other items down there. Now, I won't really open the glove box, but the thing I will say about that is you don't really have a ton of room in there. They kind of skimped on some of that space. Other than that, I think just my first take and my first look at this feels very luxurious. I'm talking 6-star diamond luxury, and that's the feel that I get in here. This is not your Tesla or any of some of these other brands. I think that BMW is really bringing it and adding that luxury. And don't even get me started on the seats. So I think the last 3 cars that I reviewed had the diamond stitching on the seat, but the difference between this vehicle is the diamond pattern goes all the way up the entirety of the seat, all the way up into the headrest. And this headrest is a little taller, so it kind of gives you some nice balance back there. So if you're a little taller, if you want to rest your head back, it's not going to be uncomfortable for you, and it's not one of those ones that you have to constantly adjust. So I really like that design aspect with this seat. Not to mention, with this package, you have the massaging seats on the driver's side as well as the passenger side, so you can get a nice little lumbar massage, or you can get a nice little back massage as you're just kind of sitting there or as you're riding along. They have a 20-minute setting, so you can sit in this car and get a 20-minute massage. I may have to check that out later. Another thing I want to just touch on really quickly. So normal cars have the panoramic sunroof like this one. A lot of electric vehicles have that, but this one has a built-in shade, so you can essentially frost the glass a little bit more to have it be either transparent or be a little bit more dark, so that way it lets a little bit less light in. So I think that's a really cool design element, and I don't know that I've seen that in a lot of vehicles. And all you have to do to make that happen is press this little shade button up here, makes a little noise, and then that change starts to happen. So we'll see if we can get that on camera and show it to you, but I think that's pretty dope. And then the next thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna jump right down into this infotainment screen and talk about a couple things there. All right, so as we get into this infotainment screen, a couple things I want to just chat about really quickly. So you have the navigation, and you have a bunch of different configurable settings on the screen and widgets that you can basically place on the screen. So right now, as I'm looking at the screen, I see, again, navigation, Sirius XM, telephone, the personal assistant that you can use to ask directions and things like that, or turn on the heat or climate control or anything that you want to turn on in the vehicle. And then you have traffic and various vehicle settings, and then you have the option to add more widgets, and you can also rearrange them as much as you want. So I think that's pretty cool. Additionally, you have the Android Auto and Apple CarPlay in this vehicle that comes standard. The screen, again, I mentioned, is very responsive. It's touchscreen. You can basically control it that way, or you can use the little dial down here, this crystal dial, this posh dial, to go ahead and change everything. But within that, there's a ton of menu options in here. So you have your climate control settings that you have to kind of use the screen to mess with, and that's a bit interesting. It's a bit much, I will say, but I think it makes sense just given the interior design of this vehicle. But you have the heated and cooled seats you have in here, and it's kind of split between the driver and the passenger, so that way you kind of have that dual zone climate control that you can basically configure while you're in here. Another thing that I find particularly interesting is the my modes setting, which you have personal, you have sport, you have efficient, you have expressive, you have relaxed, and you have digital art, which I think is my personal favorite because it kind of gives a nice purple aesthetic, and that kind of migrates over to the dash as well as the infotainment screen. And I believe these make little random noises when you're driving the car as well. So hopefully I'll get a chance to show you that if we get a chance to drive this today. Fingers crossed, we'll see what happens. I think that's pretty interesting, and those change colors along with the different settings that you choose, and I think that you can kind of configure this to your liking. Last but not least, you have ambient lighting in this vehicle as well that you can kind of take advantage of. And then granted, you have to also do the massage settings and everything like that on the screen. So everything that you're going to do in this vehicle, as in most EVs, is going to be predicated on your interaction with the screen. So if you're comfortable with that and you have an EV, you've been a long time EV driver, owner, or somebody's looking to convert, just know that you're going to spend a lot of time on the screen for various things that you want to do in this vehicle. So let's go ahead and head to the back. Now, I know I mentioned massage earlier, and speaking of that, I feel like I'm going to take this BMW iX up on that massage, and I'm going to chill here for about a good 20 minutes before I head to the back seat. So let me just go ahead and get that in right now.
2 hours later.
Hey, Wiz, what you doing, man? You sleeping? We gotta go, baby. Let's finish the shoot.
Bro, I still got 5 more minutes.
5 minutes? Let's go.
All right, man. All right, so here in the back of the i6, it's very spacious back here. As you can see, I'm stretched out, spread out. These seats, again, are very comfortable. You have the center stack climate control settings for the rear passengers back here. So you have your dual zone climate control settings. You have the heated seats. My heated seat is on right now. It feels very good. The back of these seats have a 2 USB-C charging ports on either side. There's also a little pop out here that you can put a screen in there for the kiddos if they're going to be riding back here, or even the adults if that's something that they want. You have some behind the seat storage here, and I'll just say this, the back of this seat is sexy. Like, this seat has a sexy back. I don't even know why I just said that, but it literally, that's all I can think of just looking at this seat. And as I look across, you have some more vents here on the door columns for your passengers. So you have just complete comfort back here from a climate standpoint and you can set it to your liking. There's a little hook that's up here, and that's on both sides, that you can basically use to hang some clothes or anything like that. And then you have some secondary ones up here. So executive package, right? Executives need their suits and they need to look good, feel good, drive good, get driven around in here. So that's all good. Another thing I'll just mention, so going back to the theme of ambient lighting. So I don't know if you can see it right now, but it's kind of purple, but the ambient lighting is embedded behind the speaker grills and on the actual, along the actual windowsill or window trim in this vehicle, and I think that's pretty interesting. You have the rose gold accents that still continue back here, so that's good. So you get all that luxury front to back, and then you have this door pop button that's right here, and I think that complements the button in the front. But then you also have some secondary door latches that are there on the front and the rear, and they're kind of weird because you have to twist your hand like this to kind of open them out. But I think that's a weird design, but I also think that that's there because if the door mechanism were not to work or something like that, you still have some manual option to open the door. So I think that's pretty cool. And again, plenty of space back here. The seats kind of hug you. I don't know if you noticed this, and I don't know if I've seen this on too many cars, but the seats kind of wrap around and they go all the way to the door line, and as opposed to just kind of being right here. So you kind of, even if you lean to the left or anything like that, you're not butting up against the door, so you're not feeling any hard surfaces against your back on the left or right side, depending on where you sit. So I think that's pretty interesting. And then, you know, you have the center armrest and the cup holders that are back here. I think this might be a little bit over-engineered, but it's all good. I'll put that back. But yeah, other than that, not really much to talk about back here. I think that this is a pretty solid back seat, pretty spacious back seat, and I think you can fit adults and kids back here. So gets my stamp of approval. All right, so we're about to take this BMW iX M60 for a spin. And I will say just really quickly before I start driving off that this has some crazy 360 camera. It has some augmented reality switching of the camera that you can do as well. That's pretty cool. And I really like that. This car is literally packed with a bunch of technology. And then I didn't mention this earlier because I didn't see it, but it also has the heads-up display. So that's pretty dope as well. You know, I love a good heads-up display in a vehicle. So yeah, let's go ahead and start driving this thing. So quick first impression on this. I think the cabin is pretty quiet and it's pretty spacious. Like I don't feel like I'm trapped. I don't feel like I have no space or anything like that. I have room to move around. There's like a little area down here as well that you can use. And I think that is going to be really good for people that have like additional bags or purses or something like that, that you can kind of just put down here. Safety wise, this has forward collision warning. It has driver assist. It has lane keeping, pedestrian detection, just a plethora of safety features that you can take advantage of as a consumer. And I think that this vehicle is gonna knock it right out of the park for the folks that are especially safety conscious about the vehicles that they purchase. Now, I will say that there are a few different things in here, like the My Modes setting, which is really interesting to me. It basically starts some of the massaging functions with the seat depending on what you put it in. So prime example, I'm gonna put it into expressive. My seat's going right now and it's starting to make these noises, which are, you hear that? That's super weird. I don't know what this noise is that this thing is making, but it's just making this noise every time I step on the accelerator. But I will say that this thing is punchy. This has some get up, some great speed, and the works. I think that this is something that people will enjoy. And how much is this vehicle gonna run you? So that you made it this far in the video, you wanna know how much this car is gonna cost. This is gonna cost you a whopping $117,000.
Why are you running?
But if you have the budget for it, I think that this is something that you should definitely go after. But if you're a little bit more budget conscious, I think the iX is gonna work out perfectly for you because you still get some of the features as well. But I think this executive package is a very nice touch. It gives some great features, and yeah, I encourage you to go check it out. But thank you again to the team over at Weatherford. I'll catch y'all in the next video.